Hey guys, it's your boy Noku, and welcome back to the second part of my massive Platinum video. This video will have more games to talk about with more stuff to say about them, and just generally more to talk about. I've already explained all the context and backstory needed in the intro of the first video, so just watch the last video if you need any extra context. Let's not waste any time with another long ass intro, so let's just get straight onto the list. Starting with... This game is super straightforward but very time consuming. That is something that could be said for all other LEGO games, since they tend to have very similar lists. There are trophies for every level, and you also get a bunch of trophies 100% in the game. There are also some miscellaneous trophies which are straightforward and don't really need any guides to look up. So just have fun, 100% the game, and wrap up whatever miscellaneous stuff is left. Moving on to something way more grindy and annoying in general, that game being... About half of the trophy list can be obtained by playing the game regularly and picking up some collectibles, but the other half is super grindy. This game has a ton of collectibles. Hit lists, reference books, hidden kids which can only be found by scanning through the whole level with detective mode, these sucky books, and the most plentiful of all, the scrapbooks. Holy shit, this game has so many scrapbooks all over the place! Some of them are even hidden in Easter egg rooms, so I really recommend a guide for this one, because missing a scrapbook or some other collectible can be a massive time sink, since chapters tend to be super long even with all cinematics and dialogue skipped. You also have to play the game well for all A ranks. While doing this, you can also grind out the mono coins and kill counts, and with those coins you can also max out both characters' weapons. You can also grind out Komaru's levels while doing all the collectible hunting, and that's about it for the grind. It is definitely gonna take you a long time even with a guide, so just settle down for a scavenger hunt and the rest of the grind will get itself done along the way. Moving on. This is your average LEGO game list, but with a bit more fluff to make it more difficult for dynamic duo to make the list just a little more annoying. In short, beat the game and get yourself settled down for one hell of a grind. Moving on. This is another one of the Neptunia games that I talked about in the first part. If you guys don't know what this series is, which I wouldn't be surprised, it's fine. All you gotta know for now is that these are grindy JRPGs with multiple endings and super long campaigns. So, you know what that means, another grind fest. There actually is very little to grind in this one, where the only grinding comes from the endings and level 99 to everyone. Ignore the name, by the way. I don't even know what that means, but the way it's written makes me feel disgusted. This grind, however, can be trivialized with the free DLC dungeons full of overleveled enemies. For the endings, yeah, you gotta make a playthrough for each and every one of them, since the requirements build up over the course of the game and can only be slightly manipulated with guild quests and Colosseum, that being the share system. You have to manipulate them for almost all endings except the normal one and the human ending, which uses the lily ranks of the non-region representative characters. Most of these are simple but tedious, with the exception of the conquest ending. It requires such a specific amount of shares for specific areas, and I retried the game like 3 times before I manipulated the share system right to finally get it. The conquest ending actually gets you multiple trophies for some reason. What's even more worrying to me though is, just asking, but who wrote the conquest ending? You want a hug, random Japanese developer? If you ask why, that's up for you to discover. We still have the secret boss to kill, which requires a lot of strategy, so I recommend you a guide for this specific fight. That's about it for this game. A bit more on the manageable side with this franchise, but still takes a while because of the endings. Moving on. Since this is a live service game, my experience and info might not be useful for whatever version Fall Guys is on right now, but I'll talk about it anyway. Let's get the elephant out of the way. How the hell did I get infallible? And the secret is limited time events. Winning 5 games in a row in normal game modes, I am actually sure is just impossible. Around the time I got the Platinum, there was this game mode going on that was super easy to get wins on. It's this ball catcher mode with 2 teams, catchers and gatekeepers. Both, I would argue, are balanced, but what matters is that these matches go by really quickly, and are very easy to win if you have the strats down. I know this mode got some reruns, but I have no clue if Fall Guys even does these events anymore. Going back, even with this very easy game mode and a friend to grind the wins out with, it took us forever for the stars to align and get 5 wins in a row. I don't know what the devs were thinking with this trophy, I'm gonna be honest. Another bullshit trophy that I know will get harder and harder as the game updates is all customizable related trophy, especially Fall Guy Fashionista, Head Turner, Catwalk Model, and Show Off. This game is super stingy with collectibles, so unless you slave away at the battle passes like a good little pig who eats the slop at the regular, or spend, this is also going to take forever. Moving on. This game list is pretty annoying, since for the completionist grind there is a ton to do. Scavenger items, brains, golden helmets, vaults, emotional baggage, and most annoying of all, figments. These things are all over the place, literal hundreds of them in every single level. Some of these are fucking impossible to spot, so I really recommend a guide for this game. Another reason why I recommend the guide is that all of these miscellaneous trophies are missable if you progress too fast, with my personal least favorite being I think they were impressed. Also, Christmas shopping can go die in a hole, since this trophy can only be obtained during Christmas, so manipulate your console clock to December for a trophy that takes like 2 minutes. What a hassle. One last thing I want to mention is rank 101. If you get absolutely everything, you still wouldn't have rank 101. So what you have to do is go back to the tutorial area and do a super difficult version of the punchy targets minigame under a very strict time limit. This for some reason gets you an entire rank, granting you rank 101 status and ending the grind. But to be honest, even though the trophy list can be annoying, I personally recommend you to play the game regardless, just casually. Seriously, this game is one of the most fun platformers I've ever played. I'll get my hands on the sequel sometime. Moving on. Another Neptunia game, but this time with a way easier list of trophies. I think there's like 3 trophies to mention because this is just so goddamn easy. For starters, we have the Refined Power, which does require a good amount of grinding, but nothing compared to the JRPGs, and you will get pretty much every other trophy that need grinding in the process. May These Feelings Reach is just annoying. You basically never use the prayer feature in this game, so to make up for it you gotta do the same brain-numbing process of enter cathedral, pray, leave, and repeat. Finally, Pleasant Companions is actually missable if you don't talk to every NPC you see, so make sure not to miss those and you are basically golden. In a nutshell, beat the campaign while doing all the sub-events for the CGs and talk to everyone for Pleasant Companions. Do the guild stuff and grind out the Refined Power. Moving on to something way more difficult. That game being... oh boy, another Garden Warfare game, another insane grind list to melt your brain to. Starting off strong, we have 5,000 kills on both plants and zombies. This Garden Way battle thing doesn't count by the way. While doing that, you can also start doing this fuck-ass time to go outside trophy again. Thankfully, only 5 characters were needed this time. The best way to do this is Garden Ops, so while doing those 2 trophies, you can also get this trophy if you're good, and this trophy if you're lucky. For more grind, we have You've Got to Be Kidding Me, which is just farming the transform ability on Rose and any other ability specific trophy. There are also a bunch of 2-player stuff or trophies that 2-player can significantly help with. Playdate, Who Can You Trust, Prance vs. Samba, Just Peachy, and Goat Meal. For the difficult stuff, we have the collectible gnomes, Hawkeye, and the Gnome King game mode. Oh boy did the Gnome King take me a while. It is a really fun but difficult endless wave battle mode with bosses at the end of each wave, with there being 5 waves and bosses to defeat. There are also campaign missions to do for the Platinum, and don't forget your epic quest for each week, which you do have to do 10 of by the way. So, stick around, and if you were actually doing the epic quest, you should be close to getting done once you do everything else. I do recommend playing this game, but just leave the Platinum alone. I don't recommend this one, even if you're a completionist. Moving on. I'll be so honest, this trophy list sucks major balls just for 2 reasons. This missable trophy that I reset the game for like 3 times for, and Eternal Bonds. There are 2 ways to do this. Once you unlock New Game Plus, you get extra difficult final requests that give out a pretty good amount of bond points, with the best method of spamming the Metatron boss fight until maxed out. By doing this, you can also get these trophies if you missed any, but doing this means fighting this guy day after day. The final few levels have an insane XP requirement, and that's why it is one of the worst grinds I think I ever did for a game. I didn't do it this way though. I did another, way more unconventional method. Since I didn't feel like fighting the same damn enemy for days on end, what I did instead is simple. Pray. In Osaka, you can find this Billiken statue, and every time you load into this area, you can rub its feet for bump points. There are 3 possible outcomes: Bad Blessing, Medium Blessing, and Good Blessing, which is what actually gets you the monstrous amount of XP we need for max level. There's no limit for this by the way, just rub his feet, leave, return, and repeat until max level. It was still an insanely brain-melting grind, especially with my method, since there really isn't any gameplay to this. Nonetheless, none of the list mattered. The Reaper in this game is cake, and filling out the compendium is nothing compared to Eternal Bond. Moving on to something way less grindy, but not any easier. That game being... This list is rough. There are 3 parts to consider with this list. The first one being the campaign, miscellaneous, and secrets. The campaign can be difficult as a first-time player, but nothing you can't learn and overcome. For miscellaneous, the methods for some of these is kinda crazy, so I recommend looking up a guide. Same goes for the secrets. Next we got the endless mode and grind trophies. Unlocking all levels and getting 1,987 kills is a very big time sink. So while doing those, I recommend doing the 100 kills with all weapon types if you haven't done those already. And finally, the reason why I think this is such an insanely hard platinum is the challenges. The challenges require you to beat the entire game again, but with some modifier this time to make the game harder. My least favorites being Impossible Mode, No Restart, where you gotta do all 25 levels in one sitting without deaths, and Speedrun. The real speedrun mode is actually one of the easier challenges because the times are so forgiving, but holy shit that's not the case for the speedrun regular. Some of these times are absolutely fucking ridiculous. Let's not mention that one of the challenges are time gated, which is absolutely wonderful and definitely doesn't want to make me choke out the devs in anger. Set your time to these dates right here and the actually really easy challenge is open. There are 14 of these challenges, which means you have to play through the same 25 levels 15 times. This is an absolute repetitious nightmare, and I am convinced that doing this trophy list is what purgatory feels like, since you're doing the same shit over and over again until these levels get ingrained in your mind. Also, with how bullshit some of these challenges are, practice is important. So some levels will definitely get stuck in your head no matter what. Almost 3 years later, and I still remember every damn level like I just played them yesterday, even though I haven't picked up the game since! Fun game, but terrible, horrible platinum. Stay away from it at all costs. Next game, please, and hopefully it is something way easier that isn't grindy or need me to play through it like a million times on impossible modifiers. Finally, something easy, thank goodness. This is one of those generic open world game lists that I was talking about last episode when going over Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon Zero Dawn. do the story, get all collectibles, and all other miscellaneous stuff is simple. This one is a bit more combat oriented though, so you might run into some difficulties if you sucked, like me. I remember having a terrible time at the very last Valkyrie specifically, but the rest were pushovers. In short, have fun, collect everything, and fight shit. Moving on. This is one of the easiest LEGO games on this list, and that's because there really isn't much to do. Just play through the campaign, get a character with dark magic to rerun and get everything on campaign with, preferably with red bricks as well, so crests can be easier to find, and to make some progress towards nuts and vaults. Re-explore Hogwarts again and get your money up to buy all the characters to do those miscellaneous trophies with. If there really is anything to say, I think the campaign drags on for way too long. So this was a very miserable, brainless grind for me, as I just didn't like the length of some of these levels. Moving on. This game is straightforward and you really don't need to focus on it much. You really just get the trophies by playing the game regularly, with some trophies requiring you to go a little out of your way, with season championships against bots, tutorials, and practice drills. The most difficult trophy easily, and it's something you can't speedrun unless you spend a disgusting amount of money, is Stalked. So when this game wasn't free to play, this was actually pretty easy to get since Epic didn't get their greedy little pawns on it, and you could actually get an abundance of items from all types of sources. You could even get the tokens for free to buy stuff from the store. But once the game went free to play and Epic took over, no more tokens, much less loot boxes, and a battle pass because of course. In recent updates, they even removed the season rewards being a bunch of loot boxes instead of just being one item. Since we are talking about 150 items, get settled down and do any events, tournaments, and whatever can get you items quicker. I have to mention that DLC stuff like PS Plus pack sets count too, but it's still a slow build-up of items. I recommend taking your time with this and do any other platinum, or just have it as a side project while doing anything else. Moving on. This list is very similar to years 5 to 7, with most trophies you can get by beating the campaign and 100%ing the game. This one really drags on though, with the campaign dragging on a lot and the Hogwarts exploration taking forever. These collectibles are unbalanced as hell, since while there are a good couple of gold bricks and other stuff to collect, about 50% of the collectibles are all character tokens. There are so many of these damn things, which also means that farming studs are a very important part of the adventure, because while they may not cost much, the fact that there's so much to buy really adds up. There's also these bonus levels that are really long and need certain characters to be beaten. In short, beat the campaign, get a character that can destroy iron blocks and can do dark magic. Get some red bricks like the stud multipliers and collectible searchers, and speedrun the campaign again for all collectibles. Once done, get through the hassle of exploring Hogwarts and get the miscellaneous trophies, which aren't difficult. Moving on. Man, this one took me forever, because for some reason I didn't feel like looking up a guide and had multiple failed playthroughs just trying to get one specific trophy. Some of the really grindy stuff I would like to mention is Passionate Listener, Mask Collector, which can only be done in New Game Plus, Great Phantom Thieves Convene, which don't ask how many times I failed, Drink Fanatic, A Perfect Job, Guardian of the Pond, Craft Worker, Bookworm, and Golden Finger. There's a lot to do, and most of them waste your very precious time you could be using for confidants. So for your first playthrough, I recommend doing all the extra stuff like books, video games, and whatever else you have to do. Warning though, Drink Fanatic is very missable, since the drinks rotate a lot, so just buy every drink from every machine you see just to be sure. It's cheap, so it's really not a setback financially. On your second playthrough, you can focus on whatever you didn't get to complete on your first playthrough on the long list of stuff to plan and grind for. You can also complete the compendium in this playthrough, so focus on that too. You can do one last playthrough just for 2 trophies. Great Phantom Thieves Convene and Beyond Rehabilitation, and whatever else you missed that doesn't take up your time, which is used for confidants. I recommend doing the twins fight as the last thing on your list, since at this point you're over-leveled, geared out, and have the best personas and teammates to use. I personally recommend doing it while you have a Catchy in your party, since he has some insane moves while at high levels that can help you against the twins. In short, play through the game, using a bunch of guides, and get settled down for a real grind. Moving on. This list isn't hard, but really drags on with the multiplayer stuff and running up the high score, where you have to beat the game all over again with 10 extra lives. It isn't hard, and I'd say fun, because you'll get to play through one of the best gaming experiences in my humble opinion. Seriously, this game rocks. You are doing a disservice to yourself by not playing this game or any of the other modern Doom games. What I really don't like about these games though is the multiplayer stuff. Especially for this game, because choose between demons is one hell of a grind. Bloodbath 2 is super grindy, and the rest of the battle mode trophies can be obtained easily. Problem is though, as with any other multiplayer mode I've talked about in this list, the community is dead. Good luck finding any working servers. Moving on. This one isn't as bad as Persona 5 in terms of grinding, but that makes up for it in difficulty because a cut above is genuinely one of the most unfair bullshit boss fights I've ever fought in a video game. Elizabeth, or Theodore if you pick the female MC, is straight up unfair. This fight has some very specific rules and requirements that you have to follow, or this bitch pulls out the 9,999 damage Megidolon. She has a specific fighting pattern, specific HP requirements where she can't be killed if she falls below those requirements, and oh my god, there's so much bullshit that goes into the fight and the grind needed for both the items and the gear and diabolical. Please, look up a guide, get a calculator because you do need it, and lock the fuck in. Aside from that, you do need to get 2 playthroughs minimum for everything else. Playthrough 1, just focus on the main story and talents, and for the second playthrough, you have to specifically pick the MC that you didn't pick on your first playthrough, and get the Social Butterfly trophy along with Thorough Bookkeeper. You also have to fight Margaret, who is also an unfair as hell boss fight, with even more bullshit specificities and rule set, but isn't as hard as Margaret. Moving on. This list has a stupid amount of grind, but no difficult bullshit boss fights, so it's really just a matter of laying back and getting the process over with. You do need to do 2 playthroughs in minimum again, the first being playing casually and getting any grind, events, and miscellaneous stuff done. Big Bro is worried you gotta watch out for specifically, since it is very easily missable and wastes a lot of your time. For the grind, we have Card Collector, Compulsive Reader, any of the time-sensitive trophies, and the new Quiz King. Hardcore Reset fan specifically, dude, fuck this trophy! There are way less voice lines, so you have to do some insanely specific shit to get some voice lines. Even after spending hours just going everywhere, throwing myself at any enemy that can throw any debuff or status effect on all of my teammates, it still wasn't enough. Only after giving up, I just randomly got it during the Marie dungeon. It is so annoying! So look up a guide specifically for this one. For the second playthrough, aim for Legend of Inaba, Thorough Bookkeeper, and finish off the Reaper and Margaret. These fights are simple. Get Yoshitsune, spam Hasutobi. Easy. If you have any extra time after Legend of Inaba or miss some miscellaneous trophy that doesn't take up your time, you can clean up those too. Moving on. Let me be honest, this game sucks. Not because of the puzzles themselves, I love puzzle games. It's because of how the game just loves to put things in the game to waste your time. Secret puzzles all over the map that do nothing. Slight puzzles that can be solved where the map itself is the board, the tutorials are non-existent, some puzzles look impossible by design, and this fucking cinema under the windmill. It is obvious that this game is just one big joke made by the devs to spite and mock whatever poor soul that decide to put themselves through the experience of playing one of the most innovative and fun puzzle games I've ever played. You could say that I am conflicted on this game, which is true, but what solidifies my hatred for this game is this trophy. As you guys can see by the time below, I spent a whole ass night on this challenge. So what is this challenge? First of all, even getting here is an absolute adventure. Second of all, the challenge consists of 5 waves of randomly generated challenges. A labyrinth board challenge, which you will have to remember for the third puzzle. The second wave is 5 puzzles with whatever gimmick the game has thrown at you, probably the hardest segment because of how difficult the puzzles are and how they are scattered everywhere, but after a while you do memorize where they are. The third wave is a bunch of color puzzles if you know how those work, another super difficult section with a lot of puzzles to do. The fourth section is the actual labyrinth, with the same layout as the labyrinth on the board. There are also puzzles found on the walls, exactly where the symbols were on the labyrinth board. The last and final set of puzzles are these 3D pillar puzzles, which are actually the easiest but most stressful section because of one thing I forgot to mention. You have to beat this entire thing in 7 minutes. You have 7 minutes to do all of these puzzles, some of the most difficult and stressful puzzles, in 7 minutes, while classical music plays to blast your ears and stress you out so much more. Since these puzzles are randomized, you have to learn everything here yourself, so settle down and practice whatever you still don't understand. Some puzzles are generated to be either way easier or actually just impossible, so sometimes it's okay to just give up, regain your wits, and practice a little more. Or just get lucky and get some easy puzzles. So aside from this piece of garbage trophy, what does completing this challenge actually get you? Another movie. An hour-and-a-half long movie that feels like it's actively mocking you every second you're watching it, especially with the secret movie puzzle at the very end of the movie. It doesn't get you anything, but if you want to get it done and miss it, there's no such thing as rewinding or jumping back. You have to watch the whole fucking movie again. Fuck this trophy, fuck this game, I'm done talking about this. Let's just move on to a very big and important milestone of Platinum number 50. And the game to receive that honor is... This is, in my opinion, the hardest and longest Platinum I have ever worked on, and I am real proud of owning this one. We have 3 types of trophies. The basic trophies, hero-specific trophies, and the trophies that make me want to kill myself! Let's start basics. You'll get pretty much all of these while getting the hero-specific trophies, with the only exception being decked out. That's because Blizzard can go suck a dick and made getting items incredibly difficult to get. With recent updates, battle passes have been getting better and loot boxes were added back along with credits and more coins, so it is a little bit more manageable. During the time I worked on this though, I had none of that. What I had to do instead is spend all of my credits and use what little coins I had for sprays until I got the trophy. Next, we have the real meat of this Platinum. The hero-specific trophies, and oh boy, are some of these way harder than others. It all depends on what type of matches you get into and your general skills with that character, but some trophies just feel unfair. Slice and Die, Special Delivery, both of Bastion's trophies because his ult sucks donkey balls, The Dragon is Sated, Raid Wipe, and Game Over took me forever. But absolutely nothing compared to the third type of trophies, which is definitely going in my suicide note. That is the most specific, difficult, and unfair bullshit trophies I've ever had to work for. Rapid Discord, which I'm not actually sure is possible now? Zenyatta has been reworked to no longer be able to spam the orb of Discord, so how is this even possible now? I would love to know if you guys have any idea. Back when I did it though, it wasn't too hard, just more annoying than anything. Next is The Floor is Lava. I am a Lucio main, so I actually didn't have that difficult of a time getting this one. I am aware that this achievement is infamous though, so I'll put it up here so I don't get flamed for not mentioning it. You guys want to know how to get this one done real fast? Here's my advice. Ilios Lighthouse and Legion Garden are the best maps for this. Just boop the enemies off the map for an easy killing blow and boom, you got it. Next we have Waste Not, Want Not. This needs 3 solo kills from 1 set of ammo. Solo kills are the hardest ways to kill someone, since if they have been even slightly hurt or healed by something, you're not eligible anymore. The quickest way to do this is sneaking up to some low HP hero real close and headshot until death. I did this by finding some brain dead Widow player who literally fell for the exact same trick 3 times in a row. I'm not sure if you will be lucky like me though, so some tips I recommend. If you shoot someone and kill them with your ultimate, that counts towards the trophy, but your ammo does get reloaded, so you better have this as your last kill for the trophy. For the second most annoying trophy, simple geometry. This was very simple back in the OG Overwatch one, but when Hanzo got his storm arrows, this trophy became nearly impossible. 3 killing blows with 5 arrows that only do around 80 damage each with 140 on headshot. Since the developers can't balance this game for shit, they keep increasing the HP for most heroes, where even the squishy ones need at least 2 or 3 arrows to die. So what I did in this scenario is I got a friend to help me out with this one. She was Mei, and her job was to freeze 3 enemies and bring them down low enough for my arrows to kill them. We also did the trophy for him, and those trophies took us a combined 15 hours of playtime to get. I beg of you, please do this one with other people. There's actually no way you can get this without any coincidences, so get someone and lock in. For the final trophy I want to talk about, it's probably one of the hardest trophies I have ever worked for, and definitely made me never want to play this shitty ass hero again. That trophy is gotcha. Let me explain. This trophy is so unbalanced that it has been reworked 3 fucking times! The OG version was actually pretty simple, and the newest rework right now is also not that bad. But the one I got was the first rework, where you had to get 2 killing blows with 1 flashbang. Fuck this trophy! If you were doing this trophy in Season 1 Overwatch 2, it actually wasn't too bad, because of how disgustingly overpowered the new magnetic grenade was. It had heat seeking, good splash damage, and just high damage in general. Then the nerfs came. No more heat seeking. Splash damage? Nothing! They even reduced the overall damage of the grenade itself. And Blizzard just kept on nerfing it. They just kept on going. Nerf after nerf. This trophy gradually became almost impossible to do. I got this trophy when the grenade was at its lowest, and to say that what happened was a sheer force of luck is an understatement. That shit legit felt like a miracle. After a while, Blizzard was just tired of nerfing the grenade, so they reworked it as a wonky semi-stun thing, but didn't change the trophy, making it impossible until now because the grenade literally didn't do enough damage to kill anything. This platinum will test you in every possible way and is one of the longest, most grueling endeavors you can put yourself through. God damn, this section took way too long. Even though we still have like 13 platinums to talk about. Let's just move on, because I think you guys already get how insane and stupid and impossible this is. Moving on to something astronomically easier. That game being... Not much to say about this game, thankfully. You need to do 2 separate playthroughs just for High Treason, which actually took me a real long time because of how difficult Apocalypse mode is. I had to grind a lot to get my weapon and armor of choice, but while doing that, or just in the first playthrough, where you play casually, you can literally get every other trophy. They're not that hard, and the only requirement you need is a second player for life of the party. You could also get unlucky like me and a friend in need just wouldn't be available because holy shit dude, I had such a hard time trying to get the llama summon for some reason. In short, play casually and sweat out Apocalypse mode and get everything else while doing it. Moving on. This game can be pretty difficult since if you want to get the platinum quicker, you have to beat the entire game in the hardest difficulty. It shouldn't take you too long though since the campaign is short, but Jesus, Newtonian mode makes these levels so infuriating. The reason you need to do every level on Newtonian though is because of the challenge trophies. These challenge sheets have 3 requirements. Beat the level in Newtonian, get the collectible for each level which can help you get proud souvenirs done with, and some other odd task. The data challenge sheet specifically was so hard, dude. Having to do the entire level in 10 minutes is a very tight time limit, and took me so long to get done. Finally, there's some miscellaneous trophies which aren't too bad except for charting the stars because of how annoying the controls are. Moving on. Fun fact, this is the fastest platinum I've ever got, with me only taking 2 days on this one. I don't know if that's because the game itself is so easy or if I was no-lifing this one like crazy. To beat the game as fast as possible, you do have to play with the worst weapon in the game you can get before the tutorial even starts. This does make the game pretty difficult, but the game is not too long and I even 100%ed it with only the umbrella. There are missable trophies tied to the bosses that you should watch out for, but aside from that, just have fun playing the game with the umbrella and you will eventually get everything, or you can look up a guide for the more obscure miscellaneous trophies. Moving on. Man, this game is a grinding nightmare! Not as bad as like the PvZ platinums if you remember those, but it is pretty up there. You can get a good portion of the list done by doing tutorials, the campaign, and 100%ing said campaign, and other odd jobs. The grind comes from these rank-free imp quest trophies and Dreamer level 30. There's also some annoying ones like every tool in the box, because this game simply just has too much to do. Back to the grind, you have to spend about almost 2 hours actively doing said activity, which can really drag on if you're not a creator like me and has no interest in this stuff. For Dreamer level 30, there are 2 ways to do this. Creating levels will actually get you a good amount of XP, but it has to be an active effort to be making stuff, uploading it, and just doing whatever. So what I did instead is just to play the online levels and doing imp quests. This is a long process, so I recommend having this as a side project while doing something else, like Rocket League. Moving on. This list has a lot of stuff to do, but is very straightforward for the most part. I do have very little to say about this game except for these catcher trophies. The gumdubs can only be found in one area and only a small amount of them can be caught every IRL half an hour. Glitter bugs are even harder, because while they do have a dedicated spot, sometimes they just aren't there, so you do have to catch them in the wild where they are very rarely seen. The rest of the catcher trophies aren't hard. One more thing to mention is that the Puff Boss specific trophies are all missable, so watch out for those. Man, even though this list is so long, I have so little to say. I don't know if that's because I didn't like the game or it was just forgettable. I don't have anything else to say. Moving on to a game that I have a bit more to say about though, that game being... Wait, why is this game here again? Let me explain. This was supposed to be obtained after Neptunia MK2, but because of a bug I experienced with the trophies that require specific characters to be bought, I gave up and did it later. Basically what happened was because I was playing on the PS4 controller on my PS3, I always have my PS3 controller plugged in to navigate the PS menu, since the PS4 controller can't do that. I accidentally bought one of the characters required for the Dark Wizards trophy on a second controller spot, which for some reason thought that I didn't buy it? I don't know how this happened, but I was so lost. You guys want to know You guys want to know the worst part about the trophy being Dark Wizard specifically? That's because Lord Voldemort, one of the characters needed for Dark Wizards, can only be obtained after 100%ing the game. That means because of a stupid bug, I had to 100% the game from scratch for a 3rd time. It didn't take too long since I know this game like the back of my hand at this point. But still, come on! I have nothing else to say. This list is identical to the PS4 version. So let's just move on to a game I actually do have a lot to say about. That game being... another Neptunia game, another insanely grindy JRPG that will make me question my life choices that led me here. Let's just jump straight into it. 100 million credit limit can actually be very easily cheesed. So easily, I am surprised that the developers just didn't notice this. The method is this invisible cloth item, which is a monster drop, and the monochrome jersey, which goes for 3k credits. Combine these two together to make the monochrome style customizable. What's important though is that this item goes for a whopping 1.2 million credits per piece. In short, farm invisible cloth, buy a bunch of monochrome jerseys, and profit. Top of their class can be easily farmed via post-true ending dungeons. Next, we got the endings, which we need multiple playthroughs for, so that's another 3 playthroughs added to the tally. The real grind, however, is the Hot Stuff series. If you remember, all the way back in Neptunia V2, there was a trophy to max out the lily rank of one character, which took a while, but nothing you can't manage. Now imagine that trophy, but doing it 10 times in a row! Oh my god, this was such a brainless, stupid grind where I just walked around at the starting dungeon and one-shotting whatever until I make a slight change in formation and repeat 10 times over. And as you can see by the times here, for some goddamn reason, one night I decided to get all of these done at once. Terrible mistake, horrible idea. Never doing shit like that again. Moving on to another JRPG that is a lot less grindy, that game being... This is the easiest Persona game to platinum, since you only have to deal with social links. No secret boss bullshit aside from the Reaper, who is easy as hell, no compendium to deal with, and no grind to deal with. Just do your first playthrough, get all the miscellaneous stuff, and enjoy this amazing game. Gotta say though, the Strength of Our Hearts is missable because spoilers, I'm not telling you. Just make sure to use TRG as soon as you get any new party member. For the second playthrough, just do all the social links, where the schedule is super restrictive for some reason. I restarted the game like 3 times because I didn't follow like one little step from the guide and lost an opportunity to build my social links. In short, have fun and do the miscellaneous stuff, and use any party member's TRGs as soon as possible and max out social links in playthrough 2 using a guide. Moving on to another JRPG, but let me warn you. This next platinum is without a doubt the worst platinum experience I have ever had in a video game. That game being... This game was made by the same people who made the Neptunia games, and holy shit, it shows! I'm not gonna talk about how fucking annoying getting S rank in the guild is. I'm not gonna talk about how much XP Fencer Elite took. I'm not gonna talk about the bullshit secret boss that can only be fought after extremely specific conditions have been met, and I'm not even gonna talk about the free playthroughs you need for the endings. What I am going to talk about though is the single worst grinding experience I've ever had in a video game. PvZ Battle for Neighborville's Time to Seriously Go Outside trophy has nothing on this idiotic, repetitious, hellish, stupid fucking trophy that doesn't even feel like purgatory, but rather feels like a new circle of hell made specifically for the people that want this hellspawn of a platinum. That trophy is... We are in the money. Let me tell you what you need to do to get this done in the fastest possible way. Shuketsu Final Floor. You don't need to know what that place is. Artemis. He gives some money and an elixir on death. Kill it 5 times. Go back to your Kill it 5 times and go back because your inventory can only carry a certain amount of elixir, and sell it. This, at max level and top gear, takes you about 3 minutes and gets you a whopping 130k gold. Now do the math on this. How many times do we have to repeat this process to get from 130k to 100 million? 770 times. How many minutes is that? That's about 38.5 hours. It doesn't sound like much until you realize that this process cannot be automated. You have to actively sit in front of your console for 38.5 hours, spamming R2 to skip animations and X to execute commands, and you also have to remember to stop every 5th clear to sell your items for a money boost. No, there's no cheesy item like in Neptunia Victory. There are no alternate methods to farm that are even close to comparable to this method. That is, if you don't have DLC. That's right. The DLC dungeons that I used in every Neptunia game to trivialize level or money grinding with are in this game too. Difference is, these ones cost money for some reason. I cannot buy these, no matter how much I want to end my suffering, because my main account has some regional shenanigans tied to it, making me unable to buy anything and needing an alt account to buy games. This does not apply to DLC. This is an insanely greedy move. This is insanely greedy, and the fact that they left us grind right at the very end of a very long game that just already wastes so much of your damn time is insane. Fuck this game. Fuck Fairy and Seraph. Fuck the protagonist. It's such a fucking annoying man baby that can't do shit. In fact, fuck all the characters. Except Bakus, he's the goat. This game can go suck my dick. I'm not playing this fuck ass sequel either not because of my I'm not playing this fuck-ass sequel either, not because of my deep-seated hatred of this game, well, that's one reason, but because it's a strategy RPG, which are the most boring games in the world. Fuck this trophy, fuck everything. I'm moving on from this fuck-ass game to hopefully something that's a little easier. Next fucking game, please! Oh my god, it's another grindy RPG, I'm gonna pop a fucking blood vessel! This list is bullshit! More popular than John Lennon and Full Arsenal, these trophies can kiss my ass! I reset the game so many goddamn times just because I missed one extremely specific, very easily missable thing from the huge list of things to do and get. I replayed the game like 8 times for these fucking trophies and did one more for cleanup. I'm pretty sure I fully played through this game like 10 times. Not just because of those, but because this game has 6 trophies just for ending the game in very specific ways. Fuck these trophies too. I'm pretty sure all these trophies are missable in one way or the other. Please, just follow the guide religiously, and you should be fine. But because my fucking stupid retarded ass didn't feel like doing that, I really pay for that. Just use a guide for this. This game is way too much of a hassle to plan on casually. Moving on to something that isn't an RPG and hopefully easier. That game being... This game isn't an RPG, but is definitely not any easier. You need to play this game about 3 times, while religiously following this specific playlist, which I will link in the description below. Your first playthrough should be dedicated to 2 things: the pins and everything else that isn't perfectionist or off track. Heads up, you will also need another player for Clear and Oswald's New Groove. Once the first playthrough is done, the second playthrough, aka the Perfectionist playthrough, is for doing all quests. Some quests tend to either cancel each other or some small action you might have made can completely null some quests. I remember one time I was almost done and some glitch or something killed an enemy in Blot Alley, voiding me one of the quests needed for Perfectionist. By the way, I failed this so many times that I just got sick of the guide and did it all by myself. After a while, I was able to do everything from pure memory and instinct, and got one of the most painful trophies on my list done with. There's still a third playthrough to do though, all for off track. Get all the train stations destroyed and the platinum is yours. Nothing difficult, but such a mindless drag. Moving on. I'll be honest, I have no clue as to why I have this game. I remember getting it with my console but never played it because I didn't give a shit about Iron Man. Only after completely running out of platinums have I ever considered playing this game, and I'll be honest, I should have left this game untouched. Not because of the list, since there is nothing too difficult to do. Beat the game on Formidable mode, which is hard for a reason I'll mention later, and get all the miscellaneous stuff and collectible armors done with. There's also 100 kills for all weapons and other gimmick stuff, which is just, mind-numbing grind. What I want to talk about instead, though, is that this game sucks! I am not a game reviewer, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. But just look at these reviewer scores, holy shit! Ignoring all the Iron Man stuff and the story just being boring and not making any sense or whatever, this game just doesn't feel good to play! Holy moly, this is one of the worst games I've ever played! As I've said, this game controls like dog water, runs like dog water, has unbalanced enemy design with a single boss and a lead enemy they spam every fucking level. Don't even get me started on graphics. Come on, it's a PS3, bro! There's no way you could have made the game look even a little bit presentable. This game sucks booty cheeks. Don't play it. I don't care if you're an Iron Man fan or whatever other reason for playing this slop. Just don't play it. Let's just move on to a way better game in every regard, and the final platinum on this list. Finally. That game being... I'll be honest, playing one of the most fun gaming experiences I've had in recent memory after the most miserable experience that was Iron Man 2 was such whiplash. I really love this game, and I really wanted to get into Toho in general more ever since. Unfortunately, I only really know the old-ass PC98 Project games, so if you guys know any other games or a way to play those Toho Project games, please let me know. Anyway, moving on to the list. You'll get about 80% of the trophies by beating the game and 100%ing the game. The extra stuff you gotta do are pretty annoying. No continues for you is pretty obvious but takes a while, but can be cheesed by quit scumming. Leave it as you found it feels like complete luck, but it really shouldn't take you that long. For the final thing I want to talk about are the boss rush trophies. Rank S actually requires a good amount of skill and planning, and while doing this, you can very easily get Bash and Go. A very easy and fun game to end this arduous video on. We are finally at the end of one of the most difficult videos I have ever made. There's still some things I want to talk about before I actually end here, so let's go over those. I want to talk about the rest of my list. The uncompleted, forgotten games, which can be put in 3 categories. The 100% completion with no plat games, like Genshin Impact, Nekopara Volume 1 and 2, Omega Strikers, I don't know why I even have this game to be honest, and Fez. The second category being games I am actively working on or want to work on in the future. This list is long, so settle down. Those games being Disney Universe, which is what I'm working on right now, LEGO Worlds, the Odin Sphere, the absolute trip that is the very first Neptunia game, all games from the Batman Arkham series, Power Wash Simulator, Senran Kagura Burst Renewal, LEGO Jurassic World, Titanfall 2, Danganronpa V3, and finally Little Big Planet 3 on the PlayStation 3 specifically. Why is this damn list so big? As you could notice, my last Platinum was obtained a whole year ago, and haven't done anything else for many reasons. First of all, I just didn't have any games left or was not motivated to do the harder ones like the Batman Arkham games. Second, this is when my life got busier, so I had to lock in. I'm still in the same situation, but I did manage to make a few countermeasures to my current life where I have the time to return to doing what I truly love. For the next category, we have the games I will never touch because I'm either completely uninterested in completing that game, or it's just way too hard, or the game is actually just impossible to plan them because of online shenanigans. This will also be a long list, so settle down. Multiverses because online is dead, both Call of Duty games because I am not good enough of a gun guy or even like these games enough to go out of my way for 100%. Portal 2 because multiplayer, all Little Big Planet games because the online is dead, except for Little Big Planet 3 on the PS3. That's because technically all the trophies I am missing are tied to the campaign's multiplayer trophies, which I do have the controllers for. Foam Stars because the game sucks, SMT Nocturne I am still unsure of because I didn't even beat the game yet, so this one's up for debate. All the Kingdom Hearts games because I just didn't like the first one after playing it for like 2 hours. MGR because hell no, this is way too hard. I don't know what happened to these 7 games, I'll be honest. Bayonetta because it's too hard. Yakuza 0 and Kiwami because the game is too hard. Tetris Effect because hell no. Mass Effect because I just didn't like the first game. Deep Rock Galactic, which I love the game to bits, but there's fat chance I'm getting these done. Neo 2, I just didn't like. Same goes for Hot Wheels Unleashed, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawler, this game, Towerfall Ascension, Escapists, both Rayman Runners, and basically any game you see after Splitgate. There's more games here, but this segment is going on for way too long. You can check my profile with the link below and take a look yourself. Let's just skip to the outro already. Thank you all so much for watching all the way until this point. Or skipping to the end, it's fine, I completely understand. This was an excruciating video to work on in every single regard. Having to write up my opinion about over 60 fucking games without sounding like a broken record or uninteresting was the most difficult time I had script writing for these videos. Editing this was also a complete nightmare, as I had to get footage for 63 games from all types of sources. Thanks to all the YouTubers who have let me use their footage, by the way, I really appreciate it. I've also decided on something important I want to talk about in a separate video that will be shortly made after this one releases, so stick around because I believe it's important, as it talks about this channel's future and projects. So stick around and subscribe and like the video if you liked whatever this monstrosity of a video I made was. Thank you all again so much for watching. It's been your boy Noku, signing off.